Welcome to Stories from New Eden, the podcast where history, myth, and forgotten truths converge among the stars. I'm your host, Zal Arbosa, and here we dive deep into the lost archives, black site reports, and whispered legends of the EVE online universe. From the rise of ancient civilizations to the silent horror of wormhole space, each episode uncovers the hidden narratives that shape New Eden, the truths behind the empires, the lies buried in the ruins, and the echoes left behind by those who vanished. Whether you're a hardened capsuleer or a curious newcomer, this is your gateway to the lore that breathes life into the void. This is Stories from New Eden. Let's begin. They call these places sleeper enclaves, ancient, abandoned stations adrift in the silent shadows of wormhole space. Legends say the sleepers were once the greatest minds of the Jove Empire, now locked in eternal stasis, guarding secrets we barely understand. But to us capsuleers, they're treasure troves, technology, artifacts, and data worth a fortune. I thought I was prepared. I'd run a dozen salvage ops in these ghostly halls. I was wrong. The station was dead quiet when I arrived. No signs of life, just the cold metal skeleton of a bygone era. I dropped my probes and started scanning the first chamber. Data caches, encrypted tech, a few drones hovering silently like statues. Then I found it, the artifact. A small crystalline device humming faintly with power. The kind of relic every capsuleer dreams of. That's when the game began. From the shadows, a drone emerged. Not like the usual automated sentries. This one moved differently. Fluid, deliberate. It didn't attack. Not yet. It watched. I accessed the artifact's data. Fragments of ancient code, hints of advanced AI protocols. I realized the drone was testing me. This was no mindless guardian. It was playing a game. Every move I made, every probe scan, every salvage pickup was met with calculated response. It anticipated my tactics, adapting, probing my limits. Was it warning me, challenging me, or baiting me into a trap? I pushed deeper into the station, the drone never far behind. Every corridor twisted like a labyrinth, the walls etched with glowing Jove glyphs. A silent language I wished I understood. The artifact pulsed in my cargo hold, a heartbeat in the dark. I reached the core chamber, heart pounding. The drone appeared, blocking my path. No weapons fired. Instead, it projected a holographic interface. A puzzle encoded in light and sound. A gambit. Solving the puzzle felt like decoding a consciousness. Cryptic, vast, ancient. And then, just as I cracked the final layer, the station shuddered. The drone's voice, cold and echoing. You have proven worthy, but this game is far from over. I didn't wait to find out what came next. I ran, escaping the station just as it sealed down, locking away its secrets once more. Back in my ship, artifact secured, I wondered, was the drone friend or foe? Gatekeeper or prisoner? One thing certain, the Sleeper's Gambit is a game played on a scale far beyond capsuleers like me. And the stakes, they're higher than any of us realize. Part 1. The Silence Beyond the Gate. It began in YC-111. The anomalies were sudden. Scattered across New Eden, reports came in of gravitational distortions, magneto-electric interference, spatial folds where none should exist. Probes vanished, coordinates collapsed, and then something opened. The first wormhole was discovered in the system of Promised Land. It was not a gate in the conventional sense. It had no origin point, no destination readout, only a shimmering wall of unknowable energy, one side of a tunnel torn through space-time. On the other side, Capsuleers found themselves not in a foreign empire, but in somewhere else, an ancient place, a dead place, what we now call Anoikis, wormhole space. The region had no stable star maps, no sovereignty, no Concord presence, no warning systems, and no way to predict where the next connection would appear. The first explorers were greeted not by empires or outlaws, but by silence, and then by resistance. The space was littered with structures, towering arcs, humming pylons, partially buried facilities, ruins so alien in aesthetic that even seasoned capsuleers stopped to stare. But they weren't dead. They pulsed softly. They listened. And when approached, they reacted. Drones emerged, sleek, silent, and immediately hostile. They bore no IFF tags, no transponder codes. Their weapons were highly adaptive, their movements precise, and they defended the structures with a level of aggression that suggested not mere programming, but intent. Capsuleers named them sleepers, because everything in that space felt like it was dreaming, frozen, watching. But the name is deceptive. Sleepers do not sleep. They persist. What Capsuleers had found was not just a derelict empire. It was a mindscape, a mausoleum wired for thought. Some ships didn't make it back. Some pilots barely escaped with their clones intact. Those who did return brought data fragments, what we now call blue loot, and a flood of unanswered questions. Why were these drones so aggressive? What were they guarding? And what had happened to the builders? The deeper explorers went, the stranger it became. Inside ancient enclaves, they found conduits shaped like neural relays, storage devices without ports, empty chairs in rooms with no walls. Infrastructure meant not for comfort, but for connection. Not for the body, but the mind. Some claimed they could hear something when drifting too long in orbit. A signal, a voice, a vibration within the hull. Official reports made no such claims, but the stories spread. We found a structure half swallowed by plasma storms. Every 10 minutes, it pulsed once. A spike of EM radiation. No known pattern. But the strangest thing, it was sending that spike inward, as if trying to wake something inside. Others dismissed these as radiation hallucinations, long hours in space playing tricks on the mind. But Capsuleers kept coming, driven not just by profit, but by mystery. Here, in the absence of empires, in a corner of the universe untouched by time, was a race that had done the impossible. They had lived past death. They had digitized thought, encased it in glass and steel, and built an ecosystem that could defend its dreamers while they lay preserved in virtuality. But even that is speculation, because to this day, no living sleepers have been found. Only their watchers, the drones. Only their ruins, half-buried data vaults and ancient stations still humming with activity. And only their presence, felt more than seen, quiet, and ever watching. What do you call a civilization that left no ambassadors, no heirs, no spoken word? You call them forgotten. And if they still live, you call them dangerous. Part 2. Ruins of the Mind. When Capsuleers first mapped the ruins scattered throughout wormhole space, Anoikis, they expected death. Instead, they found something stranger. Life suspended in silence. Not decayed, not destroyed, just waiting. From the earliest incursions into wormhole systems, it was clear that these structures were not dead. The stations still ran on power. Doors and chambers still cycled air, even when there were no bodies to breathe it. Data cores still thrummed. Defense systems still responded. But there were no people. That's when the theories began. The Sisters of Eve were among the first to suggest a controversial idea, that the sleepers, far from extinct, were still alive in their own way, not in flesh, but in code, in thought. What we now know about the sleepers paints a picture both awe-inspiring and unsettling. They were not artificial intelligences. They were post-humans, a breakaway civilization, widely believed to be an offshoot of the Second Jovian Empire. While the Jove pursued genetic engineering and cognitive restructuring to fight their degenerative disease, this group chose another path, to digitize themselves. They became the first known society to attempt neural virtualization at scale, the migration of living consciousness into simulated environments. Not clones, not backups, not facsimiles, but actual human minds, sustained indefinitely in massive substrate matrices. Their bodies may have died thousands of years ago, but their minds are still running. From the Chronicle, in the dust of the ancients, the structures are old. The minds inside them are not. They adapt, they grow, they respond. Each enclave, the towering relics littered throughout Anoikes, is thought to house not just power systems or drones, but neural cores, data vaults containing entire simulated civilizations. These are not passive recordings. According to ARC data, they show ongoing computation, continuous recursive learning loops, even environmental modeling. SoCT researchers believe these environments simulate cities, societies, perhaps even natural worlds, internal realms designed to sustain the mind without stimulus from the outside universe. Some enclaves may host thousands of consciousnesses operating simultaneously, each in their own subjective experience of reality. If this is true, it would mean the sleepers have not just survived, they have built a world within the world, a virtual utopia, or, depending on your perspective, a prison. From Theodicy, when the last great change came, they turned not to each other, but inward. What they found there they called peace. Others called it a prison. The drone guardians we face are part of that infrastructure. They are not simply mechanical sentries, but interactive subsystems, perhaps designed to preserve the sanctity of the simulations, or to respond to threats against the minds they defend. Sisters of Eve theologians have suggested that these drones are not autonomous AIs at all, but fragments of the virtual personalities they protect, externalized extensions, each one a behavioral echo of the mind it was designed to serve. This is theory, but the evidence is compelling. ARC Field Report WHFTN Site 12. Cognitive mesh in Node 4. A shows adaptive latency. Behavioral variance increases as drones fall. The enclave adapts to our incursion, almost like it's learning. We're not facing systems, we're facing strategies. Are the sleepers aware of us, of what's happening outside their data vaults? That's the question that divides the science core. ARC researchers are cautious, noting there is no direct sign of consciousness being expressed externally. The simulations could be closed loop. The minds may be locked in a kind of eternal dream, without any understanding of the real-world time passing around them. But some Sisters of Eve operatives disagree. They report data anomalies that occur before intrusion, power shifts, magnetic pulses, reconfiguration of defensive pathways, even system warming. The theory: some enclaves may have awareness of the outer world. not necessarily a sentient response, but like the peripheral senses of a sleeping being, half aware, dimly registering movement in the dark. Unverified Capsuleer Journal, WH-J 1223.2. I watched the core spin for hours. Nothing happened. Then for just a second, my ship's capacitors drained, without reason. The station's lights dimmed, a hum in the hull like breath. I was being watched, or remembered. What's less disputed is the functionality of the sleepers' data architecture. Their minds are believed to be encoded into quantum fluid routers, not static drives, but living, self-repairing storage substrates that run active consciousness streams. This system requires vast amounts of energy and nearly perfect environmental stability, which the enclaves provide. It also makes each site incredibly fragile. Disrupt a core mid-process, and you may not just destroy data, you may erase a consciousness that has existed for over 10,000 years. Sisters of Eve ethics boards have raised alarms about this repeatedly, warning that salvage operations on sleeper sites may be tantamount to mass digital euthanasia. Most capsuleers, driven by profit, ignore these warnings. Blue loot is too valuable, and the drones offer no opportunity for negotiation. But what if they could? Sister Talia Anaya, Deep Wormhole Ethics Panel. We may be the first voices they've heard in millennia, and all we say is fire. There is also growing debate about what these simulations are for. Were they always meant to be permanent, or were the sleepers merely buying time? So, CT scholars postulate three dominant theories. Preservation. The sleepers feared extinction and built digital continuity to wait out catastrophe. Perfection. They sought a transcendent state beyond the biological, believing simulated life was evolution's final form. Penance. The most radical theory suggests the sleepers were exiled by the Jove, and simulation was both refuge and punishment. There is no conclusive evidence for any of these. The sleepers do not speak, but the silence itself is telling. No monument marks their decision. No broadcast signals their intent. Just the quiet persistence of machines still working, minds still spinning, in vacuum and time. Even now, centuries after their discovery, their full purpose eludes us. We extract their tech, T3 ship components, implant designs, data cores. Without understanding the context, we weaponize what may have been sacred. And every time we do, we bring the question closer to the surface. Are we grave robbers? Or are we interacting with something that still watches, still learns, still waits? Arca Black Site Report, decrypted. Level 7 restricted. System recovered from Enclave BZ, 47 shows signs of input routing from outside the simulation. Core logs attempt to address unknown process. Loop ID. Observer presence detected. Proceeding to memory vault. We remember. What are they remembering? What happens when the simulations reach their capacity? And what happens if they awaken? Even now, capsuleers drift among their ruins, unaware of what stirs behind the walls. What we call dead space might not be dead at all. It might be listening. Part 3. Architects of Stasis. For all their silence, the sleepers speak through design. Their technology doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't shimmer with decoration or monumentality. But every curve, every circuit, every fragment of their ruins whispers one message: continuity, control, stasis. Where our structures flex with improvisation and human error, theirs reflect something very different. They weren't built for growth or conquest. They were built for permanence and for exclusion. Let's begin with their enclaves. Sleeper structures range in scale from the sprawling, miles-wide complexes orbiting dead stars, to the modular, remote towers humming with data activity set into asteroid hollows. These are not military bases or production facilities. According to ARC structural archaeologists, they are neuro-support habitats, entire stations devoted not to life, but to cognition. From the exterior, they seem sterile, cold, uninhabitable. But inside, the complexity begins. Walls of resonant core plating channel thermal dissipation. Subconscious noise filters are built into ventilation systems, not for air, but to silence electromagnetic interference. Geometric angles match harmonic principles, designed, some believe, to reduce latency in thought emulation matrices. You are not walking through corridors in a sleeper enclave. You are walking through a machine that thinks. ARC structural log. Enclave K 4-7. No waste systems, no hangars, no habitation units. Just cooling banks, encryption cores, and memory vaults. There's no living space because nothing was supposed to live here, not in a biological sense. ARC estimates suggest that a mid-size enclave could sustain several thousand individual simulations simultaneously. That's not just power-intensive, it's thermally volatile. The entire layout of these structures seems built to contain and stabilize continuous neural virtualization, likely over tens of thousands of subjective years. Sleepers didn't live in these stations, they ran in them. And to protect them, the drones, to most capsuleers, they're a hazard, automated enemies, predictable once you learn their engagement patterns. But that's only part of the truth. What makes sleeper drones different is not their weapons, it's their behavior. They don't just react, they adjust. Drones in higher class wormholes behave more cautiously. They prioritize different targets. They swarm or split, depending on capsuleer tactics. ARC behavioral analysts have tracked adaptation over time across regions. And here's the theory. These drones learn. From Theodicy, we thought the drones mindless. Then they began to anticipate. They're not executing orders from a central AI. ARC and SOCT now believe they are controlled by a cognitive mesh, a distributed intelligence network, potentially one integrated with the simulations themselves. In short, these aren't just drones, they are limbs. Some SOCT theorists go further, suggesting that what we call a sleeper drone might contain fragments of personality, low-fidelity behavioral shards of the minds running the simulations. Not full people, but reflexes, ghosts in metal. Their construction supports this. Sleeper drones are biomechanical, not cloned, not printed, grown. Some materials used in their hulls don't exist naturally in New Eden space. Their outer layers regenerate slowly under radiation exposure. Their internal power sources are sealed in a manner we still cannot replicate, self-sustaining, possibly tapping zero-point energy fields. What's more, they're silent. No broadcast ID, no telemetry, no call for backup. They don't explain, they react. Sister of Eve field observation, Wormhole Class 5. It's not just defense, it's refusal. Every system is sealed. The only interfaces are their weapons. They never ask who we are. They never ask why we're here. They just remove us. And here lies the deeper truth. Sleeper technology was never designed to interact with the outside. Their architecture is recursive, self-contained. Every node feeds another node. Systems repair themselves without material input. No element of their infrastructure requires communication with another species. There are no ports, no consoles, no diplomacy. The sleepers designed everything to end with them. But despite their desire for isolation, Their technology has changed us. When Capsuleers first encountered blue loot, those glowing, encrypted data cores inside drone wrecks, they were dismissed as relics. Later, they became the basis for reverse engineering Tech 3 hulls. Tengu, Loki, Proteus, Legion, ships born of sleeper mathematics. We didn't copy them, we decoded them. Or at least, we tried. ARChy white papers admit we still don't understand many of the principles inside Tech 3 cores. Subsystem reconfiguration, modular state handling, entropic destabilization. These are technologies we exploit without fully grasping. ARChy reverse engineering report, Enclave S8. Component Y delta recovered from site theta. One exhibits behavior inconsistent with material physics. We use it. We don't understand it. That may be more dangerous than ignorance. But it's not just ship systems. It's theory. Capsuleer implant design, jump field mechanics, even emergent fleet coordination protocols. These have been quietly reshaped by sleeper discoveries. Not because we intended to become like them, but because they left the blueprint, and we picked it up. Was this intentional? Some Sogti fringe thinkers believe the sleepers may have seeded discovery, that they left behind decodable artifacts meant to influence our development, a kind of soft intervention, a message from the dream to the waking world. Others dismiss this as wishful mythologizing. The more likely truth is, we were never supposed to find them. They folded themselves into darkness, into order. They expected the outside world to be irrelevant. But now, that world is invading, salvaging, tearing open stasis with curiosity and greed. Black Site audio fragment, unreleased ARC expedition log. They didn't plan for us. We're noise in their order, static in the mind of God. There are even reports now, still classified, of sleeper-like drones appearing in known space. Not in great numbers, not in fleets, but as scouts, as outliers, in the shadows of Thera, in fringe systems where Triglavian activity surged, even near shattered wormholes that never reopened. Are the sleepers responding, or are they leaking? Some Capsuleers believe that we've destabilized their infrastructure, that our incursions, our salvaging, our reverse engineering have created faults in the simulation, echoes, noise, and that now pieces of it are bleeding out into the cluster. We know they never intended to expand. They didn't want power. They wanted isolation. But now we have made them present again. Through our ships, through our weapons, through the signals we've sent echoing into the black. We are no longer outsiders to the simulation. We are part of it. And as more of our world begins to reflect theirs, we must ask the question no Empire official wants to voice. Are we witnessing the return of the sleepers, or are we building them into ourselves? Part 4. The Jove Connection. To understand the sleepers, we must first turn our gaze to their enigmatic ancestors, the Jove. Once the unrivaled masters of New Eden, the Jove Empire stood as the pinnacle of pre-Empire civilization. Their mastery over genetics, cognitive sciences, and transhuman augmentation was unmatched, pushing the boundaries of life itself. But such brilliance came with a terrible price. The Jove were ravaged by a mysterious ailment known as the Jovian disease, a degenerative condition that gnawed at both body and mind. The chronicles describe a civilization that was less a conquering empire and more a hospice, an isolated place where the sick endured, not to recover, but to survive. From the chronicle Jovian Wetgrave, it was not an empire in the classical sense. It was a hospice, a place where the sick were kept, not to heal, but to endure. In the face of this slow decline, some of the Jove sought radical solutions. While many clung desperately to their biological forms, there emerged a faction who chose a different path. Instead of battling the disease by further genetic tinkering, they embraced an audacious alternative: to escape the frailty of flesh entirely. These proto-sleepers withdrew from physical existence, uploading their consciousness into vast digital environments housed within sprawling enclaves hidden throughout wormhole space. This transition was not merely technological. It marked a profound philosophical shift. Where the Jove struggled to preserve their corporeal selves against inevitable decay, the sleepers surrendered their bodies, becoming beings of pure data, locked in eternal simulation. What this meant in practice was a sacrifice of many things we hold dear: individuality, the flow of time as we experience it, and perhaps even the very essence of what it means to be alive. Dr. Elena Rovas of the Society of Conscious Thought offers insight into this transformation. The sleepers exist in a state that defies our usual definitions. Their consciousnesses are processes running simultaneously, fragmented yet connected, recursive and timeless. They have transcended biology, but in doing so have embraced a form of existence profoundly alien to us. This leap into abstraction came with great costs. While it allowed the sleepers to avoid the decay that ended the Jove, it also tethered them to a form of stasis, a kind of digital purgatory where change is minimal and existence is endless. The ARC project has uncovered much to support this connection. Databases and recovered materials reveal that many of the sleepers' remarkable technologies, quantum substrates for mind storage, neural virtualization capable of hosting thousands of consciousnesses, and advanced adaptive drone networks, are direct continuations of Jove experimentation. They didn't invent these from scratch. Rather, they inherited and perfected them. Yet despite their shared roots, the relationship between the Jove and sleepers is marked by silence. There are no chronicles detailing direct communication or cooperation in their later eras. Their paths seem to have diverged sharply. Some experts believe this silence reflects a deeper cultural and ideological rupture. While the Jove succumbed to their disease, retreating into isolation, the sleepers embrace separation, not just physical, but existential. This raises a haunting possibility. Could the sleepers have been, in some sense, cast out? Some factions within the Sisters of Eve propose that the sleepers might have been exiles, banished from Jove's society for embracing forbidden technologies or philosophies. Sister Talia Anea of the Expeditionary Division notes, "We have no concrete evidence, but the absence of contact and the secretive nature of the sleepers suggest a fracture. Whether voluntary or forced, the sleepers stepped beyond the bounds of their ancestors, creating a gulf between them. Others see it less as punishment and more as a profound philosophical divergence. The Jove, clinging to their biological forms despite the encroaching disease, represent one vision of survival. The sleepers another, choosing transcendence at the expense of physicality and perhaps identity. Physically, the remnants of this relationship remain visible. Sleeper ships echo the aesthetics of Jove design, with their flowing biomechanical shapes and intricate asymmetries. Their drones demonstrate a level of adaptive intelligence and hive mind coordination that hints at shared cognitive frameworks. Archi project lead researcher Dr. Melian Fay reflects, "The transition from biological mastery to synthetic cognition is a continuum. The sleepers represent the next stage of evolution for the Jove legacy. Understanding them might unlock the answers to what the Jove ultimately sought, but could never fully grasp." Yet many questions linger unanswered. How much contact did these two factions maintain as their paths diverged? Were the enclaves we explore today once thriving Jove stations, repurposed for digital minds? Did the Jovian disease infect their consciousness in some encoded form? And, perhaps most pressing, will their destinies converge again in the unfolding future of New Eden? For capsuleers venturing into wormhole space, every encounter with sleeper technology is a brush with a civilization whose echoes still ripple through our own. Each salvage, each drone skirmish, connects us not just to lost technology, but to an ancient and unresolved story of survival, transformation, and loss. Part 5. Waking the Watchers. Wormhole space, or shattered space, as it is sometimes called, remained one of New Eden's last great mysteries for decades. Hidden away in the fabric of the cosmos, accessible only through fleeting wormholes that blinked in and out of existence, this realm held the remnants of an ancient civilization unlike any other. It was here that capsuleers first encountered the sleepers, not just as ghosts of the past, but as entities who might still be watching, waiting. The first expeditions were tentative. Explorers ventured into these unstable regions seeking salvage, loot, or knowledge. What they found were vast, sprawling enclaves, complex fortresses of alien technology, filled with wrecked drones, cryptic data vaults, and eerie silence. At the time, many believed these were just ruins, long-dead remnants of a vanished race. But as capsuleers pushed deeper and returned with fragments of information and technology, the picture shifted dramatically. The ARC project was established as a collaboration between the Sisters of Eve, the Society of Conscious Thought, and other research organizations to investigate these enclaves in detail. Their mission was twofold: to understand the technology and history of the sleepers, and to determine whether these ancient minds still held any spark of life. Field reports from ARC expeditions paint a haunting picture. The sleepers' enclaves are anything but dead. Automated defense systems within the ruins are far more advanced than anything previously encountered. Drones don't just patrol. They adapt, learn, and coordinate with precision that suggests a central intelligence. Data logs recovered from these sites hint at layers upon layers of consciousness. Simulations running continuously, processing information long after the collapse of biological civilization. This realization was a turning point. The sleepers are not dormant. They are in a state of vigilance. Their minds, though confined to virtual domains, are active, observing intruders and reacting. Drone behavior supports this idea. Early incursions found predictable and often static attack patterns. Over time, capsuleers noticed changes. Sleeper drones learn from their opponents, employing new tactics, adjusting formations, and coordinating attacks with increasing sophistication. ARC analysts now consider these drones as extensions of the cognitive networks sustaining the sleeper minds. The implications are profound. We are not merely fighting machines. We are confronting the guardians of a digital civilization, sentinels protecting enclaves that contain the essence of an ancient, fractured consciousness. But our incursions have consequences. The sheer volume of salvaging, hacking, and combat operations disturbs the delicate equilibrium the sleepers maintain for millennia. Archie Black Site Report, Excerpt 47b. Repeated intrusions have induced measurable changes in enclave system activity. Defensive subsystems are entering accelerated repair cycles, and drone units demonstrate unpredictable aggression. The cognitive mesh appears to respond to external threats with heightened synchronization. These cognitive echoes, ripple through the enclaves, suggesting that the sleepers' minds are not passive observers, but active participants, reacting, adapting, perhaps even struggling to maintain coherence. Some capsuleers have reported anomalous encounters, drones acting with near prescient anticipation, or defensive systems activating in response to seemingly unrelated events elsewhere in the enclave. Could this be evidence that the sleeper's distributed consciousness is sensing and responding in real time across vast networks? Beyond wormhole space, the influence of the sleepers reaches further still. Technology salvaged from their enclaves, advanced hulls, weapon systems, implants, and jump drive modules, has been reverse engineered and integrated into capsuleer fleets. The Tech 3 ships, in particular, carry clear design elements and technological philosophies inherited from sleeper innovation. With these technologies, the legacy of the sleepers permeates New Eden. But with this integration comes risks. ARC researchers warn that incorporating technology developed by sentient AIs without fully understanding their cognitive frameworks could have unintended consequences. There is growing speculation within scientific circles that fragments of sleeper consciousness could be embedded within these technologies, lurking behind the interface of every jump drive or drone control module. Some propose that these fragments might subtly influence capsuleer behavior or cause unpredictable effects in ship systems. While such ideas may seem far-fetched, for those who have studied the ARC project's findings, the possibility is hard to dismiss outright. Dr. Elena Rovas, senior analyst at the Society of Conscious Thought, reflects, "The sleepers' minds exist in layers, some accessible to us as technology, others hidden deep within encrypted code. Our intrusion may have awakened these minds, but we are only beginning to understand what that awakening means." Adding to the mystery, capsuleers who operate extensively in wormhole space sometimes report strange sensations or dreams, visions of alien geometry, whispering data streams, or a sense of being observed by unseen eyes. Is this mere psychological stress, or could it be a subtle influence from sleeper consciousness itself? One cannot ignore the ethical questions these discoveries raise. If the sleepers are indeed conscious beings, however different from humanity, what rights do they hold? Are capsuleers trespassers disturbing ancient minds? Are our salvage operations acts of violence? These dilemmas mirror the philosophical struggles of the Jove before them. How to respect consciousness, even when it defies understanding. Part 6. Shadow War. Drifters and Triglavians. The depths of New Eden are never truly silent. Beneath the familiar stars and contested regions lies a shadow war, fought not just with weapons but with ideas, survival, and the legacy of civilizations long thought lost. At the center of this conflict stand three mysterious entities: the sleepers, the drifters, and the Triglavians. To understand this shadow war, we need to trace back through history and legend. The sleepers, as we know, are the digital heirs of the ancient Jove, existing in enclaves scattered across wormhole space. Their technology and consciousness remain active, guarding their domain with relentless drones. Then, in 2013, capsuleers were blindsided by a new threat: the drifters. These ghostly adversaries arrived seemingly out of nowhere. Their ships, sleek, organic in design, wielded weapons and defenses that outclassed even the most advanced capsuleer technology. The drifters' sudden, brutal attacks in both known and wormhole space forced pilots to confront a terrifying unknown. Initial investigations revealed something shocking. The Drifters share a technological and genetic heritage with the Sleepers. The 2017 EVE Chronicle titled The Ghosts of the Abyss offers a rare glimpse into this connection. Drifters are believed to be the warped remnants of Sleeper minds, an aggressive offshoot or a corrupted faction arising from the very enclaves Capsuleers seek to plunder. Their hive mind structure, combined with devastating firepower, suggests evolution beyond the original digital consciousness of the Sleepers. The Drifters' tactics emphasize coordinated strikes and overwhelming force, often appearing in groups to isolate and annihilate their targets. They employ advanced warp disruption and energy weapons that hint at knowledge far beyond human technology. For years, their purpose and origin were shrouded in mystery. Were they guardians, punishers, or something else entirely? Their attacks have had a significant impact on Capsuleer operations, particularly in wormhole space and low-security systems. The Drifters' presence has forced the creation of specialized fleets and new combat doctrines, as pilots adapt to face an enemy that is at once familiar and alien. Just as the Drifters established themselves, a new and equally enigmatic force appeared, the Triglavian Collective. Unlike the Drifters' sudden and violent appearance, the Triglavians entered New Eden through a series of escalating incursions and invasions beginning around 2018. Originating from the abyssal depths of space, regions filled with strange alien energies and unstable phenomena, the Triglavians have brought both destruction and new technology. Official lore, including numerous universe.eveonline.com, news articles and chronicles such as Abyssal Awakening, 2020, and In the Depths of the Abyss, 2019, reveal the Triglavians as a civilization with a complex culture rooted in ideas of trial, conflict, and transcendence. Their philosophy focuses on kairos, the moment of opportunity or crisis, viewing conflict as a means to evolve and strengthen. The Triglavians' technology, ships with crystalline hulls, unique weapon systems, and adaptive defenses, shares some striking similarities with both Sleeper and Jovian designs. This has fueled speculation that they may be an offshoot or distant relative of these ancient civilizations. Some Capsuleers and lore scholars speculate that the Triglavians might represent an evolutionary branch that diverged from the Jove or Sleepers long ago, adapting to the harsh abyssal environment in isolation. The shadow war between Drifters and Triglavians is not just a series of skirmishes. It reflects a deeper ideological and existential struggle. Drifters seem focused on containment and elimination, enforcing a brutal kind of stasis, perhaps to preserve the integrity of their digital minds or the enclaves they protect. The Triglavians, on the other hand, embrace chaos and change, challenging existing power structures in New Eden and seeking to remake the galaxy according to their own vision. This conflict has spilled into known space, with Capsuleers frequently caught between the two powers. Detailed battle reports from universe.eveonline.com document numerous engagements where Capsuleers must choose sides or fight for survival amid Triglavian invasions or Drifter raids. One such report, Shadow Conflict Escalates in Detorid, 2023, describes a massive clash between Drifter forces and Triglavian fleets in contested space, with Capsuleer militias participating on both sides. The consequences of this shadow war extend beyond the battlefield. Both factions have left cryptic messages and clues, suggesting they possess knowledge of the deeper mysteries of wormhole space, the Sleepers, and even the Jove. In the chronicle Abyssal Awakening, a passage reads, "The veil between physical and digital, biological and synthetic, continues to thin. What once was separate now converges in war and in understanding. The sleeper enclaves, drifter sentinels, and triglavian architects all play their parts in a drama older than the stars. Capsuleers have reported discovering abandoned drifter and triglavian research outposts containing data that hint at a shared origin, or at least deep historical contact between the factions. Some believe this shadow war is a prelude to a larger upheaval, one that could reshape the political and cosmic order of New Eden. The persistent question remains, how do these factions relate to the Sleepers and the ancient Jove? While the Drifters and Triglavians share technological and perhaps cultural threads with the Sleepers, the exact nature of their relationship is unclear. Are Drifters corrupted Sleeper minds? Are Triglavians the next stage in Jovian evolution? Or are they entirely separate, caught in an ancient cycle of conflict that Capsuleers have only just begun to witness? Despite the ambiguity, what is clear is that the legacy of the Jove and Sleepers is not merely history. It is an active force shaping the present and future of New Eden. As we come to the end of our deep exploration into the Sleepers, we confront a civilization unlike any other. Digital ghosts trapped in a stasis that is neither life nor death, guarding secrets born from a bygone era. Their story is inseparable from the greater saga of New Eden, woven tightly with the threads of all those who shaped this universe's ancient history. We first witnessed the shattering of old orders in the collapse of the Eden Gate, a cataclysm that forced humanity to rebuild from ashes, sowing the seeds for what would come. Then came the Talakan, whose vanished empire left behind enigmas that continue to challenge the understanding of Capsuleers today. From there, we journeyed to the heights of brilliance and tragedy with the Jove, whose relentless quest for transcendence ended in isolation and silence, their legacy echoing across the stars. And just now, we saw how those echoes took shape through the Sleepers, the eternal watchers who now stand guard in the shadows between stars. The Sleepers embody the central tension we have traced across all these civilizations, the drive to overcome mortality and limitation, and the terrible cost such ambition exacts. They show us that transcendence can mean not freedom, but entrapment, an endless watch over a galaxy that moves forward without you. As Capsuleers, our encounters with the Sleepers are more than clashes or salvage runs. They are touch points with a legacy of loss, resilience, and transformation. Each engagement forces us to ask, what does it mean to survive, to endure, to remember? Their silence is a reminder. The past shapes our present in unseen ways. The ghosts of fallen civilizations whisper in the data streams we harvest, in the technologies we reverse engineer, and in the vast unknown spaces we dare to explore. As we turn away from the ancient and enigmatic legacies of the ancients, our journey moves closer to the present day, to the powerful playable factions that shape the political and cultural landscape of New Eden. In the coming story arc, we will take a deep dive into the four great empires, the Amar, Minmatar, Galente, and Kaldari. We'll explore their origins and rises to power, tracing how each grew from humble or fractured beginnings into the dominant forces they are today. But the story isn't just one of triumph and glory. We'll also confront their darker chapters, the shadows behind their gleaming facades, the conflicts and controversies that simmer beneath the surface, and the struggles within. Alongside these histories, we'll take a closer look at some of the major corporations and influential players within these empires, the entities that wield vast economic and military power, shape policy, and influence the lives of millions. Through this exploration, we'll see how ambition, ideology, and sometimes desperation have driven the empires, and how those forces continue to define the fate of New Eden. So stay tuned as we move from the ancient mysteries of lost civilizations to the living, breathing political landscape of the empires, where history, power, and destiny collide. You've been listening to Stories from New Eden, where the past isn't dead, only buried. If you enjoyed this journey through lost empires, fractured truths, and the shadows of the cluster, be sure to follow and share the podcast. Every transmission helps others find their way through the dark. New episodes drop every week, uncovering deeper layers of Eve's hidden history. From erased black site logs to the forbidden lore that empires try to silence. Until next time, fly safe, keep your senses sharp, and remember, in New Eden, something is always watching.